Okay, so we are on page, what page are we on? Let me find this thing here. Oh, it's not moving, that's exciting. Oh, it is moving now. We're on page 25. The reason we're starting sort of into the package a little is that this makes a good video lesson, and my other class is going to have to watch this next day. Now, if you hate the duotang, if you're like, I do not like the duotang, the pages go all curvy, you know how they like bubble up and stuff, feel free to move it into a binder. But I thought it was better for you to have everything all in one place. I was unable to get them out to press early enough to get them bound, okay? So page 25. So we're actually hearkening back to Unit 1, where we dealt with quantities, okay, quantities. And then we had a symbol for the quantity. Okay, so the distance is the quantity. The symbol for the quantity is the lowercase d. Do you guys remember that one? That's ringing bells. And then we have what we measure it in. So if I want to find the distance across this classroom, I could measure it in what unit? Meters. I could use a meter stick and figure out how many meters it is from side A to side B. Okay, so we have our unit, which is the meters, and then we have thought I picked a different color. There we go. Meters, which is the abbreviation for the unit. Now, it's going to be important for you to distinguish between the quantity and the unit. All right, so I'm going to keep harping on it over and over again until those two get straight in your head. Okay? Hopefully, having done it before, it will be not too difficult. Now, again, here's another one you should be familiar with. The quantity is time. The symbol for time is T. What kind of T? Lowercase t. And the unit for time is seconds. There are other units for time, but in the stuff we'll be doing in the electricity unit, we will be using seconds. So we're going to go with that one. It's the standard unit for time is the second, and it is abbreviated lowercase s. All right. And now we're going to get into the part that is physics related, and that is putting these quantities into formulas. Okay, so here we have a formula, also known as an equation. How many of you have seen something like this before? You may not have heard the word velocity, but maybe you heard it as speed. Have you guys done speed calculations? Speed is the distance over the time. So in physics, they don't call it speed, they call it velocity. There's actually a few little distinctions there, but I'll let your physics teacher deal with that in grade 11 if you take physics. So you can either write the formula as, in word form, velocity equals distance over time, or you can write it as, in using the abbreviations, v, lowercase v, is equal to d over t. All right? And you are not going to be expected to memorize formulas. All right? You are going to get a purple sheet that has the formulas on it. If you want a preview of what that purple sheet looks like, you can turn to the very first page after the cover page of your booklet. Okay, and it's just going to be the top half. All right, that's what this half here, that's what your formula sheet is going to look like. So you can use that on quizzes and tests and whatever. If you're planning on doing the enriched, I think it would be worthwhile memorizing them. There's only 3 formulas, and we'll be doing them as we go along. And I've given you a few little tricks there to help you remember them if you choose to memorize them. We have the I quit formula, I equals Q over T. The very easy question, B equals E over Q. And I am very right, I equals V over R, okay? And we'll get to all the quantities and the units as we progress throughout this thing. All right. Now, Guess CUBS is a little mnemonic device. It is a memory device for how to solve problems. We're not going to be able to do very much physics this year because we've only got how many weeks left? 2 and a little bit, right? And Friday is a test day, so really we've got 2 weeks left, yes? So we're just going to get to the meat of it. We are going to be doing methods of solving problems. This is going to work for you and get you full credit on problems. How many of you have math teachers who are like, show your work? Yep. Guess what? Physics and chemistry teachers, what do we say? Show your work. If I get an answer from you and you're in my chemistry class and you haven't shown any of your work, do you know how much you get? You get 0.5, maybe. Like I'll give you 0.5 for having an answer. However, if you've shown absolutely nothing, I'll usually give you a 0 because it's like, you know, you need to show your work. What is the average velocity of a ball that rolls 20 meters in 5 seconds? So we have 3 things in this question. We have the velocity, we have the meters, and we have the seconds. Yes? 3 things. Step number 1, you're going to write down what you are given. So given things, these are the ones where you know the numbers. So what information are we given in this question? Where are our numbers? We have 20 meters, so that's one of our givens. So I'm just going to call it G for given. Okay. Or actually, maybe I'll write that it's a given because it's our first time through. Do we have another thing where we know the numbers? We have 5 seconds. So that is also a given quantity. So what you're going to do is with the given quantity, you're going to have to figure out what it's measuring. What does meters measure? Meters measures distance. And you're going to have to figure out what seconds measure. What does seconds measure? Time. You guys remember the symbol for distance? Lowercase d. Symbol for time, lowercase t. So what we're going to do is we're going to write down the given quantities. So we are going to write down d equals, so our distance equals 20.0 meters. What else are we going to write down in our given information? Tell your partner what you think the other thing we're going to write down is. We are going to write down T equals 5.0 seconds. I'm going to show you what people do that's wrong. Where am I going to put that? Somewhere where we have a little bit of room. See, people sometimes write down seconds equals 5. Okay, no. You want to tell me first the quantity, and then you want to tell me the number with the unit. Yes? So it's always going to go quantity, and then over on the other side, we're going to have the numbers with the unit. How are you going to know? How are you going to know what the unknown thing is in your question? Because the G in guess stands for given. We are given distance, we are given time. U stands for unknown. There's an unknown quantity in our question. How can you tell what the unknown quantity is? Look for the question word. Yes? Where's our question word in the question? What? Yes. So we have what is the velocity. So that is our unknown. So you are going to write down, you are going to actually get marks for this if you write down your unknown, and you're going to say velocity. If I don't want to write out all of like velocity, what will I write instead? I'm going to write a V, okay, because V is short for velocity. Is it an uppercase V or a lowercase v? Lowercase v. Okay. So we have V is equal to, and then we're just going to put a question mark because we don't know. That's why it's our unknown. Okay. And then you're going to have to pick an equation. Right now, we only have one equation in front of us, so choosing it will be very easy. Which equation would you like to choose? Would you like to choose this one that's right on the screen in front of you? Yes. Okay, so let's do that. We have our equation, which is V equals D over T. So we have G is for given, U is for unknown, E is for writing the equation, and then next we get to S. S is for solve. Solve the formula for the unknown equation. Solving just means getting that variable by itself on the top on the left. Do we have our unknown on the top by itself on the left? Yes, we do. There it is. Velocity is by itself on the top on the left. So solve means you have it on the top by itself on the left. And for this worksheet, this step is done. We're going to worry about solving equations another day. Okay, so this step is just done. All the ones in this one, you're going to be able to skip that first S in guess. All right, you can just be like, I'm done. Woo-hoo. Okay. And then we are going to substitute. So we would say we have our equation V equals D over T. That's our equation. And we are going to plug in or substitute in the given information, and we're going to make sure we include the units. I'm going to put a star beside units because this is one place where math and science tend to differ. Math doesn't have as many units. Like sometimes they do, but often there's just numbers. But in science, we always have our units. So let's plug that in. So what should we write where we have D? Go back to your given information, and you're going to write 20 meters. Now, if you're doing the enriched material, putting in that 0.0 will be important. If you're not, you can just write 20 and I won't mind. Good? Okay. We are now going to fill in the T. What does T stand for? T stands for time. Okay, and there's our time up there in blue. And so that is 5.0 seconds. Okay, so substitute. So that's guess. Find your given information and write it down. Find your unknown information and write it down. Write down your equation. Solve the equation for whatever your unknown variable is. Substitute in your given values and units. And then we get to the CUBS part. I'm not really happy about this part of the mnemonic, but it was the best I could do. Okay, the guess part is awesome. I'm like happy about guess. It's like, guess. How am I gonna do this problem? Just guess, yeah? But CUBS, I wasn't so happy, but then I found these little CUBS, and I thought, I can be happy about the little picture of the CUBS, and maybe they will bring a small amount of joy into your life. And if they don't, you can just ignore them. Okay. So, CUBS, C stands for calculation. So you are going to do the calculation. What should you start bringing next week? A calculator. Miss Spence, can I use my phone as my calculator? Not on a quiz or a test. So, should you have a calculator? Yes. How many loaner calculators does Ms. Spence have? Like 3 or 4. Okay, so if you forget yours, I might be able to help you. But then again, I might not. If you want a cheap calculator, they do not have to be expensive, honest to God. There's like a $9 calculator at Staples. It's like your basic scientific calculator. It will get you all the way through grade 12 chemistry. Okay? I will post the link up on our teams if you are interested. Okay, just so you know that but any calculator will do, right? You know the ones like you used in elementary that just have plus, minus, times and whatever? That's all you're going to need. So if you have a cheap calculator lying around your house, that's all you need for this year. If you want to purchase a calculator that's going to get you all the way through grade 12, other than like, you know, pre-calculus where you have to have a graphing calculator, I will put that link up on Teams so you can find that calculator, okay, for cheap. All right. So we're going to do the calculation, and this one, fortunately, we don't even need a calculator for this, do we? Do we need a calculator for 20 divided by 5? No. What's 20 divided by 5? 4. And we're also, again, going to include our units. What unit are we left with here? We're going to look. We have meters, and we have seconds. And the meters is over top of the seconds. So all you do is you write it as meters over seconds, which is just meters per second. At this point, you have now done the calculation. You have your units. Okay, that's the U is for units. Calculation, units. B is for put a box around it. Okay, so we're going to put a box around it and say, this is my final answer. It just makes it easy for, you know, whoever's looking at your work to see where your final answer is. Put a box around it. stop at a S, that last S, stop at a reasonable number of digits. I think I've written 2 to 4 a lot of the places, but you'll notice in this one we only have 1 digit. Is that okay? Totally okay. Why would you bother with anything else, right? It's a 4. Yes? If you are doing the enriched stuff, I'll just quickly say that what you do is you count the significant figures in each number. And I actually have a worksheet on this that I'll give to you for like over the weekend if you want to take a look at it, if you're interested in that kind of thing. This number has 3 sig figs. This number has 2 sig figs. And we always, when we're multiplying or dividing, we take our answer to the lowest number of sig figs, which in this case is 2. And so we would end up with 4.02 sig figs meters per second. Okay, but that is enriched, and we have 2 sig figs. So you don't need to worry about that. 4 meters per second is good. Basically, don't go past 4 digits. 4 digits is like, only if it really looks bad to cut it off early, like just stick with 1, 2, or 3, okay? How are we feeling about this? Pretty straightforward? Yeah. Was anyone scared about physics? Good. I'm glad we're not scared about physics, because sometimes people come in, Ida, and are scared about physics. Are you scared about physics right now? No. How could you be scared? You've got the cute little cubs to keep you company. All right, let's do another one. Here we go. We have volume. That is our quantity. And it is measured in liters, capital L. We have mass, which is our quantity, lowercase m. And it is measured in kilograms, lowercase k, lowercase g. Make sure you're using the correct lowercase and uppercase. Lowercase v is for velocity, uppercase v is for volume. Capital L is for liter, lowercase m is for mass, lowercase kg for kg. But remember, you are going to have this thing, unless you choose to go without. Yes, and it's got all the units. What you're going to notice here is that, do you guys see volume and mass on here? This is page 1. Page 1. Do we have volume and mass on here? Is there distance? Nope. We're doing the volume and mass and distance and time because they're familiar things. You've seen density calculations before, you've seen speed calculations before. What we're going to be dealing with is current and charge and time and voltage and energy and resistance. Okay, and we'll learn what all of those things are as we go. But all the units are there for you, so you don't have to worry about, forgetting them. Alrighty? Okay, back to page. Oh, took me back somewhere, but not where I was. Come on. There we go, page 27. Actually, we're going to be moving on to page 28, so here we go. So once again, we're going to be using the formula. What's another word for formula? Equation. And that's going to be the E in guess. Yes, G-U-E-S-S, that's our equation. Do you guys know what density is? How dense an object is. What does that mean? If something is very dense, let's say I have this box of tissue, yes? Say I had a brick that was the same size. Which one is more dense? The brick, because density is how much stuff, how much matter there is in a given volume. So if the two volumes are the same, the one that has more mass will be more dense. Okay, so it is the mass in a given volume. So how you calculate it is you take mass and you divide by volume. So we have a formula. Density equals mass over volume. Or you can write it as D, capital D, equals M over V. Now, I will be honest with you, sometimes people use a little d for density, and that's okay. The official symbol for density is a rho, but you're going to be like, that looks like a P. What's a rho? So we're just going to pretend that you never saw that. Okay, we're just going to take that away. And we're going to use capital D for density so that it doesn't look like distance. Okay, I would like you to, what does G stand for? Oh, sorry, in guess. Yeah, you're right. G stands for grams. What does this G stand for in guess? That's our given information. Could you please, in the question, go and put boxes around the two given quantities in the question? I am really hoping that you pick the thing that have numbers. Yes? Once you have identified your given information, you are going to write down what quantity is associated with it. Please tell your partner what quantity is associated with liters. Volume is what is associated with liters. Okay, so that is our volume. And that is a capital V. How about kilograms? What quantity is associated with kilograms? That's mass. And that is lowercase m. Now, if it helps you to write this out when you're doing the problem, like write in the problem, please go for it, but you don't have to. Okay, that's not the part you're being marked on. But you will be marked on whether you write it down here. So I'm going to have something on one side of the equal sign and something on the other side of the equal sign. What will I put on the left of the equal sign for my 2.5 liters volume thing? Yeah, I'm going to put V equals, and what's going to go on the right-hand side? 2.5. And it's usually easiest to write the abbreviation just because it's shorter. So what's the abbreviation for liters? Capital L. Excellent. Do I have other given information I need to write down? Yes. What's going to go on the left-hand side of the equal sign here for our mass? M, for mass. We have mass is equal to 1.97 kilograms. Now I would like you to go put a box around your unknown in the question. Who's the unknown in the question? It is indeed density because density is associated with our question word. Okay, so that's our unknown. So you actually have to write down my unknown density. Whoops, sorry, it's a capital D. Like I said, often we use a lowercase, but whatever. Density is equal to, and what do you put on the other side of the equal sign? Question mark. So if you were doing this question so far, you would have gotten like, you know, half a mark here, 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 half a mark here. Do you know what I mean? Like it's going to be out of a lot, but you get a little half mark for everything you write down. And do you know why? Because I'm going to show you what you'll eventually be doing if you go and choose to study physics at university. Now, don't worry, this is university physics. I never took this university physics, okay? Because it's all like crazy and you gotta have your, numbers in there and you gotta keep track of everything. We're keeping track of 3 things. It's gonna be really simple and straightforward. But if you don't get in the habit of keeping track of everything, in grade 10 you might have 4 variables, okay? And in grade 11 you might have 5. We might even throw in a squared term in grade 11, but it's not going to look anything like this, okay? But this is just to scare you into actually showing your work, okay? Because that's what you're trying to, be prepared for possibly in the future. But even for grade 10, you'll be thankful that you did it this way because you will get full credit from your teacher. Yes? You'll be like, oh, everybody's writing down everything. It's so good. So our density is we don't know what. What is the equation that we will use here? D equals M over E. Huzzah. We want to now solve for the unknown quantities. So we had our given, we had our unknown, we wrote the equation, and now we're going to solve for the unknown. Oh, look, guess what? Just like I promised, it's already done. We have the D is on the top by itself on the left. Okay, so we don't have to do anything. Substitute. So we have D equals M over V. And now we're going to substitute in the mass, 1.97 kilograms. And remember, when you're substituting in, what must you also remember? Not just the number, but the unit. 1.97 kilograms over, what are we going to put on the bottom? 2.5 liters. So that's our guess. We have now substituted. CUBS, do the calculation. This one, I can't do that in my head, so I'm going to haul out my calculator. All right. Ooh, it needs some light. There we go. 1.97 divided by 2.5, and I get 0.788. Am I done? No, because although I have done the calculation, I still need to include U. What does U stand for? Units. So I have, what are my units here? I have kilograms on the top and I have liters on the bottom. So my unit is simply the kilograms over liters, kilograms per liter. So that was the U for units. B for put a box around it. And unfortunately, I would have loved to have the S back up earlier on, but CUBS didn't sound like a thing, so I put the S at the end. Okay, so make sure you stop at a reasonable number of digits. Does that look reasonable? Yes, 0.788 is great. If you are doing sig figs, we have 3 sig figs here. We have 2 sig figs here. So how many sig figs would we want in our answer? We would want 2 sig figs. We always go to the lowest number. So that would then become 0.7, and we would have to round 9. There we have 2 sig figs there. okay? And don't worry if you're like, sig figs, what? I do want to learn it, but that was really confusing. I have like some stuff I'm gonna give you that you can take a look at, and it's really well put together, I think. Okay, I'm just bragging now, but anyway. No, I went through and I found Tyler DeWitt has some sig fig stuff, so I put together some of his things that will really help you out, because he is an amazing guy, Tyler, okay? And I think that's going to be it for today, right? Because we've sort of done everything that we need to do. You will be able to then over the weekend do these, like after your test, that will be your homework, is to do this stuff, okay? But for today, the rest of the class can simply be used to work on reviewing, making your sheets, anything that you like. When would you like your break today? Right now is kind of early, at 1:30? Let's do it at 1:30 so you guys can start reviewing, okay? So what's the weekend homework? Pages 29, 30, 31, and that's it, okay?